The world has gone completely mad. It's so strange the way people have been behaving. Who would have known? Who would have known, really? It's interesting. Remember that movie, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, with Donald Sutherland? I remember it when I was a kid, and I was so fascinated by scary movies. I loved scary movies. But there's this one scene where one of the pods opened, and it was a dog. Well, maybe the pod didn't open. You just saw the dog that had a human head. It was really strange. Well, I'm here to tell you that this is stranger, almost. So much stranger. And what makes it so strange is that it's the truth. It's not just science fiction. The things that we thought that were supernatural or just in people's imaginations, it turns out that we're having to face some amazing, shocking, maybe even a little bit unnerving truths. Unnerving truths. When 9/11 happened, I don't know what you guys were doing, but when I was on my way to work, and I heard on the radio when the first plane hit the tower, and I couldn't believe what I was hearing, and they were yelling. It's like, oh my gosh, they were really yelling on the radio. And then I pulled in and I ran into the office and I turned on the TV, and right before the second plane hit, and it was just like, remember how stunned we felt? Like, it was just like unbelievable. We just couldn't believe it was happening. And again, it just takes so much time for your brain to catch up with what you're hearing. It's like, it's happening, but this is like the first time we've had any kind of attack on our soil, on American soil. This is like really frightening. So many deaths. I remember hearing a newscaster or a reporter, somebody saying that, somebody was heard that was atheist, saying, I know I didn't believe in you, but at their time before their death, right at the time where they know that they're going to die, they're crying out for God. Please save me. Please save me. All of those people that died on that Twin Tower, they were crying, please save me. The people that absolutely didn't believe. They were so in charge of their lives and their wealth and everything that they had accomplished in life. They didn't really believe in him. They were doing just fine without him. Until a day comes where we need him. And the time has been wasted. And we have to think about, our mistakes, all of us do. And all of us have made them, everybody's made them. I feel like I'm in actually a pretty good episode of Twilight Zone, trying to figure out what's reality and what is not. That was probably the first movie that addressed what seems to be to what actually really is happening. And I'm so idealistic, and that's probably why people thought of me so as immature, because I saw things with loving eyes. I saw things through my eyes that thought the best of people, and not every person, of course. I mean, when I left, my ex, this last one, back in 2008, I was over the top done. I was so done. It was just more than you could even imagine. He was forceful. He would insist on his time with me, and I didn't have a choice. I couldn't be sick or tired. I couldn't be busy. I had to do whatever he wanted every day, no exception. And if I didn't go along with it, he would punish me. So this was behavior I had already experienced, this type of treatment, this narcissistic abusive treatment. And so, Alexa, decrease volume one time. But I'd tell him, I can't do this anymore, I'm not doing this anymore, and then he would, oh, okay, I'll do better, but he never did. He never did. And he treated my children so poorly. I mean, really poorly. I shouldn't have to even explain this because I kind of already have in my posts and everything, but he was into things that, were just repulsive to me. They didn't match me or my character. He was just, and he thought he was God's gift to the world. He did. I mean, it's all narcissists, I guess they do. Alexa, decrease volume 2 times. I want to hear it a little bit because it's soothing. But when we found out that he had a brain tumor, it was really, really upsetting. I felt really bad for him, and we weren't getting along at all. And it was really a shock for both of us that was what was happening. But I shifted my emotions a little bit because even though I didn't want to be with him, it just changed, for me. I just thought, now what am I going to do? Because I have to take care of him, and my feelings totally shifted. I wanted to do the right thing because I'm a nurturer. That's what I do, and so but he was even violent. And I understand a little bit because I don't understand violence, but he shoved me up against the wall and was really upset when because he was going to have a brain tumor and here I was free or whatever was going on in his mind, that it was happening to him and not me, and I was free, or whatever, but it was really strange. And I tried to be patient because I would be terrified too. I really would be. And but you have to remember, Kent was really abusive, and I knew that he was interested in this lady that he was taking to Sundance too. He was taking her to Sundance, and then one day that they wrecked, the Porsche, and it didn't take much to figure out why, the likely reason why. But and everything that he did, I drove a broken down vehicle and barely, that was really actually kind of dangerous, that he just gave me any old vehicle because he made me sell my car so we could get a washer and dryer for the house, and so but he drove the Porsche while I drove an old hunk of junk, right? and people would say things to me like, why does your husband not get you a good car, but it's like, I don't know. But he was just, that's just the way he was. And I believe it back then. He didn't want the home teachers to come over. He didn't want me talking to anybody from church without him present. I wasn't allowed to go to the bishop. Never could I go to the bishop alone. That would be just like I would be a traitor, So he really had me very, very isolated. Oh, listen to this move. Da 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 dum. Da 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 dum. Well, I tell you these things because I know that he is responsible for a lot of what's going on. Because I found out that for the last 10 years, see the tragic music, perfect timing. He was stealing from me for 10 years. I left, and I went to, last time I saw him, it was maybe around 2011 or 12 in court, but the divorce was final in 2013 in American court. Alexa, turn the volume down one time. So the divorce was very final, and at that time, you can imagine, I wasn't interested in, meeting anyone new or anything for a very long time. I wasn't even slightly interested in it. But, and I never, when I left, I never wanted to see him again. But anyway, here he is stealing from me for the last 10 years. And I find out that that's happening. And that he it's stalking me. You know, he wasn't even on my mind. I mean, I never thought about him. He was never even on my mind whatsoever. Alexa, that Beethoven, he's a real rock star.
I'm not quite sure how to help you with that.
Alexa can't help me with the fact that Beethoven's a rock star. Alexa, reduce volume 2 times. Anyway, I also learned that I wasn't getting all my mail. I wasn't getting all my mail. And that was weird. And I was asking, you know, because I had roommates, I thought, well, they could get my mail or actually, you know, put it someplace maybe, and maybe that was what was going on. Before that happened, I had come on Facebook and I had said, you know, when I'd find out, how did I find out? Oh, I was laying in my bed, and, you know, I told you in the last video that I was doing research about the church and everything, and I was just, you know, skimming along on YouTube. Hadn't even listened to a tarot reader, you know? And by this time, I already had a lot of facts and a lot of information about Star Maker app. I already knew a lot of things just by paying attention and really understanding what was happening around me. But on this particular night, I was scrolling through, and this lady came on, the Divine Goddess. I mean, I hope I didn't say that right there. I'm sorry. But anyway, she said, your grandmother, Marcella, wants to talk to you. It's important, you know, something like, and I'd love her to find that video that she did where she said that. Marcella, your grandmother, wants to talk to you. Now, my grandmother, Marcella, I mean, that just seems rather odd, doesn't it? You know, because, you know, it's not that common of a name. And she is my grandmother from my mom's side, right? So I thought, you know, I was thinking. And it just gave me chills. I'm like, wow. And so, and she was telling me, you know, something about, you know, looking, you know, watching my surroundings, and that there's somebody that's trying to steal from me. I mean, I can't remember. I'd love to find that video where she actually said all these things, because it really got me thinking, you know, it's like, and then I sat up in bed and I, you know, because my grandmother, well, Marcella, when she died, she came, I was in Oregon, she was in Salt Lake City. And when she died, I know she came to visit. I actually paused and stopped because I knew that when she passed away, she came to see me. Of course, you know, I didn't tell anybody this, but I knew. And so this time, I was like sitting up and I started saying, grandmother, what's going on? You know what I mean? I started talking to her, and so I started listening to the tarot a little bit more, because, and you know, and in the meantime, all this is happening, but over here, you know, when I was trying to communicate with my family, they were acting cryptic. They were acting really weird, okay? Now, I want to backtrack a little bit for a second, because when I was still living in Pleasant Grove at Brenda's house, Brenda was just, you know, it was impossible. She was impossible, you know, anyway, but I had gotten hurt, you know, and I was, when I knew that finally I was going to have to go, I didn't really want to go until I'd found another place, and I was looking for a place that would let me have my dogs, you know, because you know, there were places to go. I just didn't want to lose my dogs, because I'm attached to them, and, you know, so, when I contacted an attorney through the Provo Legal Services, and he helped me with this case, because I kept telling her, because the bishop was one that told me, the bishop over in what is it? Next to the community next to Pleasant Grove, something Hill, Cedar Hills or something like that. Anyway, that bishop was telling me, oh, you know, just tell her to give you an eviction notice, because then you can go and take it to the judge and tell him what's going on, you know, with her. Because at that time I had, you know, we were worried about a fire starting, because she kept saying her circuit breaker got hot, and the electricity would keep going off, like all winter long. It just kept going off, and for sure it was like it was gonna burn down. You know, I was worried, and all my furniture and all my belongings were in her basement, and you know, my roommate at that time, we were talking, you know, we need to call the city because this is a fire hazard. She's not fixing her, you know, circuit box, you know, and it's getting hot. She's told us this a couple of times, and so by no fault of our own, we weren't calling about the animals or anything. We were just calling about, you know, being worried about the house catching on fire. Plus, there was daycare center upstairs, and you know, and that was already a neglectful situation. She was always doing conspiracy theories, always on the internet, you know, with the world coming to an end stuff, and you know, we had a lot of complaints about the way she was caring for the children too at that time, because she would scream bloody murder at them. You know, I don't know. I would never have chosen her, honestly. It's true. Because, you know, she really shouldn't have been watching kids. Let's just put it that way. She didn't have the patience for it, really. But we had a lot of complaints about Brenda. My roommates and I too, even the ones that might have even helped her. We had big complaints. And so when I called, so Cheryl and I decided that we would get a hold of the city. I'm the one that called, but it wasn't my idea. It was, she said, let's call the city. I said, okay, let's do it. So I called. And I talked to somebody named Gail from Pleasant Grove City, told her what was going on. And I was mad because she had bought a second cow instead of getting this breaker box fixed. And I felt like, you know, she was not taking care of the property. That's why I got hurt in the first place, is, you know, she wasn't putting money into the property. And come to find out, she's not even insured to have renters, you know. She doesn't, so on her mortgage, you know, because when I tried to go get help, you know, because of the shoulder, you know, the insurance, or the lawyers, the Moxie Law Group, was unwilling to pursue it because she didn't have homeowners insurance that covered renters. Now, how is that okay? You know, if you've got renters, somebody gets hurt, and all of a sudden you can't litigate because she doesn't have the proper licensing or the proper insurance to have renters in the first place. Okay, and so they don't want to, you know, because it would take too much work to fight, and they didn't want to, for whatever reason, you know, I'm sure I know the reason why now, but they didn't want to do that, you're right? And so I knew there was some animosity, you know, for Brenda, because she ended up losing her goats and she wanted to retaliate big time, but I had nothing to do with the goats. I didn't know she couldn't have 2 cows and 12 goats and 12 chickens. I didn't know. The city asked me, oh, well, she's got a second cow. Well, how many animals does she have? And I'm like, well, she's got 12 goats and 12 chickens too. And so I didn't know, and it really wasn't on purpose, you know. And so the city comes out, makes her get rid of it. So she has a motive, right, to give me a hard time. And then, so when all of this came to an end, you know, where she wasn't fixing the property, there's mold, you know, so many problems, you know, water leaking from upstairs to downstairs, from a faucet leaking that she wouldn't fix. I mean, she literally would not take care of her property, and she had 5 people in the basement at that time, you know. And so it just seemed to me she's not taking care of the electrical circuits. The house is falling apart. She needs, you know, it needs to be repaired, you know. And so I was really unhappy, you know, about that. And so anyway, the bishop advises me, and we told the bishop this is what's going on, and so for whatever reason that I know now, he was telling me, oh, just have her do this, and he, you know, and then when you get an eviction notice, you can just go to the court and, you know, ask to have a hearing. And so, oh, fine, you know, but I didn't realize how risky doing it that way was, but that was okay. I mean, it worked out. I called Provo Legal Services, and they helped me. And she didn't really actually even do it properly. She didn't really actually have an eviction notice done in the proper way at all. So it wasn't even valid. But anyway, that wasn't a thing. But the attorney said, well, you go ahead and go, you know, go get your stuff and go ahead and go, and then that way that it'll help, you know, so that you won't have an eviction on your record. But I was trying to drag it out a little bit because I was looking diligently to find a place that I could bring my dogs, and it was kind of hard. But so eventually I just had to go. But it wasn't that I couldn't find a place to live. It was because I wasn't willing to give up my dogs. Now I know they wanted me to be homeless now, and I had the pickup truck. I could sleep in the truck really easily, and I like camping and outdoors, and so I felt like I'm tough enough. I can do this, right? And then plus I could go to my son's and if I needed to, and take a shower, wash clothes, hang out there. So I wasn't doing the hobo thing, okay? I wasn't starving, I wasn't doing the hobo thing. But because it was in July and it was so hot, it was taking a lot of gas for the air conditioner. A lot, and it was really, really hot. But that was the only real problem with that plan that I wasn't anticipating, which I should have anticipated, and the food going bad really fast in the cooler. But, and then, and it was not really, I found the condo and I just knew, okay, for a few weeks I can do this, because I can just make this work, right? And then the last week I went and stayed with Camille and Eric in Heber City. So I wasn't actually homeless for maybe 2-3 weeks, well, even if that long, but it wasn't really that extreme as being homeless. And so, but when I did finally, move over to the other place and, got the place painted, it was kind of weird because it was really there, for the money. I really wanted to move into a nice place, and the paint job was really ratty. It was really bad, but the place was nice. But I just really wanted it painted, and so I'd asked for it to be painted, before I moved in. And that I even told him I'd do it myself. But that's another story. That's for another day. But Courtney was kind of mad because she wanted me to pay for the paint, but then when it came time for a new roommate to move in and she wanted to paint the walls, I'm going to say, well, wait a minute, half that paint, if you want me to pay for half the paint, then half that paint would be mine. Right? And then I already knew that there was some camera things going on, because when I had realized some strange behavior that was going on with my family, and I had realized that, after listening to some people, on tarot, they'd say, there were some things that just, I knew. I thought, oh my gosh, because it was just too accurate. It was like, oh my goodness, that's my family. And so I said, Happy Valley is the Truman Show. That was the first thing I said. And then I said, I admitted, on Facebook that, that I had a visit from, my grandmother and, some people that had passed on, and that was absolutely true. Even George, I was around, and I was getting real direct downloads from these people, and I knew it for a fact. There was I physically knew it, okay? And I know that Mormons believe in ministering angels. I know that they know that this is not far-fetched. This is true. People can do this. This has happened to other people as well, not just me. But during this time, I listened to somebody that was telling me to protect myself because I was under attack. And these were very specific things about me and my life too. And it could have been other people too, but I just, you absolutely know when somebody's talking about your family in deep particulars, like Diva TV. Ooh, there's some things that she said that were just meticulously correct, right? They were absolutely correct about my sister. And so I followed suit. I got the Palo Santos sage or whatever, and I started using it. And I would say, in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, I command all evil spirits, both living and dead, to leave. Return to sender 10 times, And so, and then I would, cleanse myself, and I followed along with, the agenda, what people are telling me to do spiritually to protect myself from spiritual attack, which I was really under a lot of spiritual attack on Star Maker as well. And so I knew that was happening. And then not even hardly any time later, all of a sudden in the bathroom, in the vanity, the lights, the vanity lights were flickering all the time. And so, and I knew it was very subtle at first. I knew that the first instinct would be like, ghosts, they can play with your electrical devices, and they can, but these lights, the way they were flicking, it would be one bulb, but then that one would stop, and it would be totally a different one, right? And so I was very curious about that for a while, and then I was telling, another tarot reader, I was on a live with her, and I lifted up my phone. I said, just look at the vanity lights they're doing. What do you think about that? And by that point, I'd unscrewed the light bulbs and I was looking in, see, okay, this is some sort of parlor trick, right? And then, but I put the light bulbs back in, and then, it happened a little bit, and then all of a sudden it was just all the time, and I knew that somebody was messing with me. I absolutely knew it. And so, and then, I was listening to Intuitive Kev. He's an amazing guy. I love you, Kev. He knew already what I was even putting in my bath water, like I was putting the salts in, that he had particulars on certain things that I was doing. And I figured out, how did you know that? I mean, certain people were coming up with things telling me you're under surveillance, and my phone was crapping out. It was doing really weird things. My sister Victoria was coming into Facebook, unfriending me, blocking me, and then coming back in and friending herself, and I watched her do this several times, and then the people, and then I went and I blocked everybody, and then I go in there and I'm still able to send them music. How is it that I'm able to do that after I blocked this person? It was just weird, but I wasn't talking to him. I told him, I first told him, it was Victoria that said to me, I think that you're being, I think you are, have been hacked or something. And I said, I think you're right, so I thought that she was warning me, but then I told her about Star Maker. I said, there's this really creepy guy from Star Maker that's following me around. You need to be really careful. I mean, these people are Luciferians, they're not good people, and be really careful. I've been watching them for a few years, and I know what they're doing, and so I warned her. In fact, I'm not sure what it was. I'd have to go back and look that she said, but I said something to her. I thought that you and I, we served the same God, I thought we, prayed to the same guy, what's going on with you? Why are you, because I could tell that she was treating me coldly, she was being very cold. And it was so obvious. And then in another phone call that we had, I was having a conversation with her, and some of the things she was saying and the cold way she was behaving, I won't go into all the details, but and then I find out that there's this other lady, Vicky. That George had another daughter that lives in Mississippi, and I wonder how long they knew about Vicky, and they just decided not to tell me. I mean, and then Loretta and Lavoy come up from, Mobile. These are people that you would think that would want to see me after so many years, but no. So I knew that they were hiding something, and Victoria said, Loretta's coming up, but she wouldn't go any further. Why? Or wouldn't invite me? It was just really, it was really obvious. And then when the Vicky person came up and all the stuff going on in my social media, I mean, it was pretty obvious. And then it took me a while, but I finally, went to Facebook, said something, this account is hacked big time, which I'm sure they already knew that. And so it stopped for a minute, but not very long, right? YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all of it, controlling my views, making it really hard as they could for me, okay? So I really knew that there was something that was really going on, and then, but people would say, when I would listen to a reader, they would say a little bit, and then all of a sudden I would know the rest of the story. They would say, well, so-and-so, you're like, Astria 5D, she said, your brother, he's really nervous right now. He's getting ready to sign a document. And he's really, in a way, he's kind of sad because he's sad for your sweet dreams. And she said it exactly like Jason would say it. And Jason is my brother. I thought he was my brother. And he's my younger brother. He's my only brother that I know of. So I immediately, the spirit, when it hits you, it just hits you so hard, exactly, and I was terrified for him. The first thing that came to my mind is, these people are thugs. They could kill him. They could literally kill him. And, I didn't care that I wasn't getting along with my brother that well, and, I wouldn't want anything to happen to him. And I was crying. I was like, oh my gosh, these people, they're awful. I just really felt like his life was in danger. And so immediately after Astria said that, I get on Messenger and I to Jason, I put a picture of a prison cell, and I said, don't do this. These people, they're bad. These are bad people. And so and I did. I put a picture of a prison cell, and don't do it. Don't do it. And I had gone to the general chat, and I had responded and said, trying to figure out what's going on. You know, people were acting like nothing was happening. But then when I figured out that there was a judge involved, I was saying, Judge, I'm alive, I'm alive. And when I asked Victoria, I said, there's and I know that there is an inheritance, and for sure, and I'm positive. And I said, there's like a house, land, and deed. There's no way that I would have known. I'd been researching through, Mobile. I'd called Mobile and was looking around and thinking maybe it's J.D. Clark, but looking, really looking into it. And when I had asked her, I said, are George and Myrna both my parents? I just came right out. I blurted right out and asked her that. Are George and Myrna my parents? And she didn't answer me. And so I went to Carrie, my cousin. Are George and Myrna my parents? She goes, I think so. Well, yeah, of course they are. Blah, blah, of course they are. So she wouldn't tell me anything. I said, something's wrong. And she's like, and I said, somebody died, and I was blocked from seeing who it was. Who is it that died? And this was probably almost a year ago. Maybe like last March-ish, sometime somebody died. And, and she was, who? And I went, I don't know. And she goes, and I told her, I said, I'm just really picking up a lot of information just intuitively. And she goes, maybe you should she said, maybe you need to get a psychic. And I'm going like, well, I kind of am one, And she's like, well then, well, who is it? I'm going, I don't know, but somebody's died. And when I went to go see who it was, I was blocked from seeing who that was. And so there was just too much going on to not realize, But back to Kent and my mail, and to Courtney and this Harvest Hills condominium. So they put parlor lights in there. I knew I was being surveilled. There's readers that actually knew what I was doing. Right, and then about in June was when I got on to Tony Robbins and Dean Graciosi's mastermind, and I went to it, but I don't really like to do the mass, euphoria thing where everybody joins and everybody's all pumped, and because to me, you're not really dialed into your own feelings. You're picking up everybody's energy, and you're excited because everybody's excited. You're just kind of on the bandwagon, and I just feel like that's just too easy to lure people into doing something that maybe they don't want to do, So I had to back off, and then plus, I got a message that you don't want to tell these people what you want to do, because you don't tell people that because they'll sabotage you. And so with everything going on, I didn't want to admit anything that I was interested in to anybody. And I got out of the masterclass. I didn't continue with that. And I got a call from the mentors, the trainers, or the coaches from Tony's program and all that. And I was just, I just had something was really, really strange. And then I was invited to this Unstoppable by Sage Robbins and Tony Robbins, and they were showing me other people that had been videoed, and I was starting to put it together, and it's like, they can't do that because this is my private life. I never gave anybody permission to do that. And little by little, I was getting, downloads and information that I resonated with, because I noticed that people knew too much about me, way too much. And to where I even said to Kevin, I said, not all that long ago, it's like you knew exactly the herbs I was putting in my bath water. How could you possibly know that? Does that mean that you could see me get undressed and get into the bathtub? I mean, this is really not cool. I mean, and then they try to creep me out like you did a sex tape, and all that. I never have done a sex tape before, and I haven't. Come to find out, let me backtrack. Before I met Kent, and I didn't know this till later on, but he had been using those little audio tapes, those mini tapes that attorneys use for, their clients when they're trying to get, the problems to resolve a case. Anyway, so he would put these. One time I caught him put a little tape recorder under my pillow. And I was like, I came unglued. I just was like, I was ready to just, you sicko. I was so mad. But fast forward, eventually, he has a whole briefcase full of them. He had a whole briefcase full of these mini tapes. And he was gone. I took these tapes and I took him down the Provo River and I buried him. And I called the police and I told them I just got these tapes and, so anyway, when he came back and he noticed that the tapes were gone, he was just like out of his mind. Out of his mind. Ripped the phone off the wall so I couldn't get help. Wasn't going to let me out of the house till I told him where the tapes were. My boys were really young, like third and fourth grade. Fourth and fifth, third and fourth. We were bound by the lake. So when somebody would start saying sex tape, I realized, I wouldn't doubt that he would sneak a camera and record people that he's with. Which is, really bad. That's bad to do something this vile, right? So anyway, I got this Star Maker, reality TV, Unstoppable. My mail is missing. I say to Courtney several times. Did I tell you about the key? The keys were missing, and I know why they took, and they ended up taking the truck. But Courtney lied about the keys, and then when she came in to work on the doorknob, the keys, she put them back in a place that they absolutely were not. And it's like, it was so obvious that they were planted. It was like no question about it that Courtney did it. And Courtney also admitted to taking some of my mail, and then she pretended that she took a different piece of mail. But I told her, I'm looking for mail from the courts, and and they just kept lying to me. And then all of a sudden, I need to get, this information from the DMV, but I didn't get any information from the DMV about my registration. I didn't know. And so, but I had gone out to go do a video at a park, and for no reason at all, no reason whatsoever, I was pulled over, no reason. And the police said, well, your registration is not valid, it's suspended. And I had no idea. And I told them, I'm not getting my mail, and I never got anything from the DMV, so I didn't know. And I never would go very far. Didn't go very far. And so, anyway, they took the truck, and then it ended up costing like $400 or $500 just to get it out of the impound. I didn't have it. I didn't have it. Went to court, jumped through the court thing. I told the judge what I knew was going on. I was like, I know that my ex-husband applied to be city attorney for Saratoga Springs in the past, so I knew he had affiliations, with Saratoga Springs and the city attorney that's there. And by this time, I'd already gone to Pleasant Grove Police to report my mail missing from there. I went back to Brenda's to try to get my mail, and she would barely even open the door. I'm a Christian. She wouldn't say yes or no. She said, I'm a Christian. As if, what are you hiding? She was hiding something. It was really weird. So I went and filed a report for missing mail in Pleasant Grove. I called up and I wrote, or actually I called Saratoga Springs, and I also wrote saying there is an inheritance that I believe my family is taking from me. And I gave him my brother's name, and he's in Harriman, and and he wasn't really very helpful at all. And then I wrote to the city of Saratoga Springs probably 3 times, telling him, I'm getting harassed by my landlord. I'm not getting my mail. My mail is missing. And so I'm really communicating with these people. And so speaking of mail, well, when I left Saratoga Springs and I moved over here, where I'm at, the first thing I did the next day, I went straight to the post office, changed my mailing address so that my mail would immediately come to me. But it still wasn't coming. It still wasn't coming. And so I went and I talked to the manager at Lehigh Post Office, and, I did it, eventually I did it again, saying I'm not getting my mail. And then, it wasn't very long ago, I got this letter here. It already had the new address already on it. It was already on it. And yet, there's a note here. It says, Cameron Smart, please deliver to Treva Vale. Why would they have to give instructions to deliver to Treva Vale when my address is, what my changed address was already on the letter? The change had already been made, but my mail was being held back, and he had to have instruction to send my mail to me. So it was really physically being stopped, you know? And so that was really strange that please deliver to Treva Vale when it already had the new change of address on it. Still not getting court documents, still not getting my mail. And, you know, I've learned by trusted allies that Jason, my brother, my sister, Kent, it could even be Courtney. Courtney would do it because she's a part of this, the ex-landlord. Any of them, really. You know, because it's pretty, Saratoga Springs is like 10 minutes down the street, really. And so, this is true. This is exactly what's happening. Then I realized when I was being surveilled and I was complaining about it to the police too, that, you know, it was obvious that my phone was tapped, that I was being exposed. And then I remembered this, and then Tony was on my feed, Tony Robbins, he was on my feed over and over and over again. Like every time I turned around, it was Tony. It was like so obvious. And in fact, my feed is just like that. If they want to insult me, they'll send an ad that insults me, or they'll send an ad, you know, about anything just to irk me, right? It won't be anything useful, really. Well, some of it's useful, but most of it is to be insulting, right? And so, but during this time, Tony Robbins, Sage Robbins, come to this, come to this, come to this. And so I did. So I said, okay, I'll go to Tony Robbins and Sage's thing. But I was still he already knew that I knew, okay, that I was being surveilled, okay, I already knew. And so when I went, I was trying to, you know, just to feel it out and everything, because I'd admired Tony. I wanted to be sure. And so when I saw what this unstoppable was, it was not hard to put two and two together, and that I was being surveilled against my will. I figured out who one of the copycats is. I got her picture. I knew I was being robbed. I knew it. There was no question about it. And Tony Robbins wasn't trying to help me. He was helping my cousin and my family to steal. And there's no doubt in my mind. Absolutely no doubt in my mind. And, you know, there's digital footprints. People are going to, I mean, it's already really been investigated. It's a fact, you know, so I don't feel too scared to say it because it has been happening. And you guys probably even know more about me being, you know, on reality TV more than I do. I don't even know. I didn't sign a contract. And see, that's just it. They paid somebody else in my name while they were filming me. So, and taking pictures of mine, making pornography from pictures of me, putting them on the dark web, making money, profiting off my covers, my music covers, you know, lip syncing, taking my videos off, putting that different girl on there to sing in my plate, to pretend like she's singing for me. You know, this is major fraud. Major fraud. And I want you to think for a moment. Everybody wants a hero. Everybody wants somebody to look up to, that they can depend on and count on. But tell me something. How would you feel about being attacked by the same person that's pretending to save you? How would that make you feel? Do perpetrators get to suddenly rush in and save the day? Trust the process. We're just doing this for you. When the whole time, they're trying to help my family steal that inheritance, and everybody here knows it too. And we need to be careful of false saviors coming in, pretending to be something that they're not, creating false scenarios only to turn them around and make them opportunities to make ourselves look great. We're the hero. We're coming in to save the day, Americans. We're going to do this. We're going to make all the homeless go away. We're going to rehabilitate them, blah, 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 blah. Well, the first mistake they made was that I wasn't actually technically, yeah, there was a minute that I didn't have a place to go, but I wasn't a homeless bum. Never was I a homeless bum, ever. I was depressed. And I explained on the last video, or a couple of videos ago, why. I had really solid reasons to be depressed. But it was just so plain. It was plain as the nose on my face what was going on. And, so the whole agenda here is that there's this big program called Unstoppable, to where we can take these poor, drug-addicted, alcohol-addicted people, and we can help them and make them better. And everybody's going to think that we're just the greatest, and we're going to make so much money. And if there's a chance to steal from them first, let's do that. We'll take their money, make ourselves really, extra special, and then just give them back their own money a little bit. Not the whole thing, just a little bit. Now, ever since I figured out what was going on, I have been under extreme attack. Emotional attack, and I know that many of you are very, very much aware of it. You know very well what I'm saying is true, and so do a lot of people. They do. It's just the truth. And no matter whose idea it was to save the day, save America, rehabilitate people, even people that weren't harming anyone, they were living their lives, not hurting anyone. Because I had that money that I wasn't aware of, I was under attack for my whole entire life. So they targeted me because they wanted to get away with stealing. They wanted to make me look like I was something that I was not, so that people would dislike me, even hate me, want to end me. And it was not even true, and some of you even knew, and yet you went along with it. I feel really bad for you. I do. And then for me to have known these things that were coming to pass, that I figured out, believe me, these are really short. I can hear almost, now I've gotten so good at this, I can almost hear them talking to me in my head. It's not just images anymore. They can actually talk to me and I can hear them. And it's like, oh, she's really crazy now because she's hearing voices. But no, there's somebody that can actually talk to my brain and I hear them. That's not even a joke. And I'm getting really, really good at reading between the lines, picking up energy. And I don't say this because I think I'm anybody like a hotshot or anything like that. But I'm telling you this because I know. And because I know, you've been attacking me. Now I want you to think back to when those people were under the rubble, under the World Trade Centers, when their lives were over. Even the aliens, or the atheists were looking for God. They were trying to find Heavenly Father. I have gone through so much struggle. I've always walked with God. I can't afford not to. Even in the times when I really wasn't, living properly. I never, or properly compared to maybe what somebody else might think. There's never been a time or I didn't feel that He loved me and was protecting me, because I had to, even as a little child. And I might have told you, my mom was very physically abusive with me. She would beat me all the time. And there was one time, I just couldn't stand it. I couldn't stand to have her hands on me another time. And I was just little. I couldn't have been like between 5 and 6 years old. And I went into the bedroom and I took a broomstick and I was beating myself on the head with the broomstick because I wanted to die, because I never wanted her to ever be able to touch me again, ever. And then that didn't work. And so I was crying, and I was kneeling down on my bed, and I was asking Heavenly Father, I was crying to Heavenly Father. And He told me, your mom and dad, they're not okay. They're not okay. In a way that helped me, because it validated what I felt really young. And I was almost positive it was Jesus telling me, your parents aren't okay. It's not good. It's not okay. They're not okay. But what it did too is it made me even stand up to them more. I watched them more. I stood up to them more. And the more I stood up to them, the more I got beat. And then there was, there's so much abuse there. But I know that everything that everybody's been saying, they're absolutely strumming my pain with their fingers, singing my life with their words. And we all know it. I have the information that seems to match up with the data. And I'm grateful you can't even imagine how grateful I am to these readers who are so beautiful and so talented that have helped me through this journey. I love you. I love you. And I love your integrity. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Now, my ancestors meant for me to have this inheritance. They did. And they also meant for me to be a chosen angel that I didn't even know. I had no idea that I would be given this assignment. Do you really think that anybody would actually want to have an assignment like that? I mean, to have to shatter the false narrative. Truth is stranger than fiction. And even though it doesn't feel like it right away, truth does set you free. And when I'm talking about these constitutional laws and protections, that is the only thing between us and the government that's protecting us. If we lose that, we might as well live in North Korea. We might as well live in, Russia. I'm not kidding. It's that serious. If people in judicial systems, law enforcement, and government are willing to bear false witness, to commit fraud, high crime fraud, support others that are committing big crimes, and are willing to also bribe and obstruct justice. If we go along with it, my fear is if they get away with this, what else is going to happen to us? We'll be just like blindly, it's like blind faith. Blind faith, as long as they blindly believe us, we're just going to go along with the program, and we're not going to be asking the questions that we really need to be asking, because we all are aching for the Lord to come back. We are aching for Him to come back and save us. And we were warned that there could be people that would come in and pretend to be Him that weren't Him, that want to save us and get all the glory for doing it, but it's not really the Savior doing that. This is why, and even at the beginning when I was saying to you, it isn't just about having religion. It's not really about that. It's having a personal, intimate relationship with the Savior. Feeling like you are in a partnership. And that when you do follow that, you're protected. You're making really solid decisions. You're not letting society and the world. Now Beethoven's getting really strange right here. Can you hear that? I don't know if you can. It's like really weird. Beethoven, the rock star. But I'm just telling you that I don't want to be in a position to let anybody down. I hate letting people down. I shouldn't say hate. I dislike letting anybody down. I want people to be happy. But we deserve what's true and right. We deserve everything that's true and right. We need to know what we're doing before we just buy into something because we're praying and hoping that it's just the truth. I'm just praying and hoping for a safe country, for my own life to be saved. I'm a person. I'm a good person. Nobody gets to sacrifice me. Hell no. No way. Nor you, for that matter. Don't let anybody, under any circumstances, take away due process, your civil rights, your human rights, your rights to privacy. There's sometimes you want to think, oh, but if I do this, then that's going to happen. I don't want that to happen. But at what point do we just say, you just got to tell the truth? There's nothing else to do but just be honest. There's no other road to take. If you're really on the side of love and God and truth and your own protection. If I were to lie, or if I was to be coerced, bribed into doing something, it would be on me. And believe me, they'd make sure I knew that I was part of it in some way. And I'm not. Nobody's telling me anything. The only people that are telling me little pieces and bits and everything are my friends that are reading, and then I take what they have and then I'm able to expound upon more of it because I know what they're leading up to. So I'm telling you, the truth will set you free. It may not feel like it right now, but we deserve to be in a safe society. And if we aren't careful about our safety and the laws that are supposed to be protecting us and the people that are in these positions that should be protecting us, we are in huge trouble. We have shit creek without a paddle. Now the time has come to choose your path. Are you going to be a praying person that loves your Savior and really means it? Are you just going to keep being the kind of person that wants to see what you can get away with? Because one way or the other, it all boils down. Alexa, stop. She knows exactly when to make the crescendo out of noise for Beethoven. He was getting pretty reckless there. But we owe it to ourselves to make sure that we're making good decisions, that we don't let people falsely stand behind God, pretending that they're all this, when really they're not. And that was one of the first identifiers, is I knew that there were people on YouTube that were talking a lot of talk, but then there were things that just didn't add up. Like if you see a picture of Jesus and he's looking angry, or Jesus is looking like the devil, or if there's a swear word on the cover, you can be sure, no matter what, even if they call themselves God's glory, and they have a swear word in their title, or Jesus is looking like a demon, chances are they ain't for real, okay? I mean, it was like, you know, you don't resonate with me because that's not what Jesus does. He doesn't act like that. He doesn't behave like that. He doesn't treat people like that, and he doesn't talk like that. You know, he talks, you know, with exquisite eloquence. Not like we do in society today. You know, if you say you love God, but you are serving the other guy because of your own personal desires for how things should turn out, then you're not following God's plan at all. You're, in fact, even in your mindset, going after this thing that you just have to have, and you're willing to do anything at all costs to make sure it happens just this way, and you don't even stop, and you're willing to commit crimes to make sure it goes down that way too. You can't win. You can't win. It'll come out, even if it was for the right reasons. You can't sacrifice people for an agenda. You can't dehumanize poor people just to fit in this box like they don't matter, because they do. No matter What, and it has nothing to do with race, or I mean, it probably does have something to do with race, religion, and having, you know, people the norm. They want us to believe in Christianity, really, and I'm not talking about the good Christians that really, I mean, the ones that really are faithful. It's just that if you let religion rule everything, they get to decide who. They get too much power, and it's the same thing that happened in medieval times. You know, when you do the history research, religion had way too much power, and even though we want those same principles, we want a fair society. We don't want one that's based on just staunch Christianity, and that if you do this, that's going to happen. You know, it's you know, and really, it's also about favoritism. Whoever they want to let go compared to who they don't, and if they're going to get some money, if benefits from the whole deal. You know, so we're really in a corrupt society that are putting masks of religion on their face, and it's just not true. And so we need to find this somebody authentic. We need to be authentic. We need to be straightforward and be willing to tell the truth, even if we're not popular anymore. Our lives depend upon it. Our freedom depends upon it. You can't do wrong and expect it to turn out right, even if your intentions were good. And I understand those intentions. I really do. But wrong doesn't make a right. Fraud and thieving, drugs, spreading sexual diseases. You know, it's just, this is a crisis of morality. It is a spiritual war, a crisis of morality that could turn out to be a plague, a sexual plague. It's important to be practicing sexual hygiene in a world like this, especially, but at all times, but really especially. I know God loves me. I know it. And while I'm in this position right here, telling the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help me God. It doesn't matter if you like me or anybody. All of us are here. We are citizens of this United States of America, and we have our inalienable rights. And you need to be willing to fight for them, no matter what. And it doesn't matter who wants to trick you into let just this little thing go, let this little thing go. Before you know it, they cooked your goose. You're like the frog in the boiling water. Pretty soon you're going to be dead. Completely boiled, cooked. Now, I can't believe any of this happened. It's kind of weird, isn't it? Strange. But I am representing a power of one person. Yes, I've got gifts. That's true. Maybe you don't. But the truth, being able to tell the truth, is a real gift. Don't be afraid to use that. When something's going wrong, it's going down wrong, and you know it, you have every right to complain. Demand your government to work for you. It isn't the other way around. They're not the ones that are supposed to be in charge. It's supposed to be us. We, the people. It's our country. Our country. It isn't their country. It's ours. I hope with all my heart you hear me, because it's really that important. And I hope that you'll say these things too. And that you'll stand for the truth about things. That you won't expect to be brainwashed into believing something that just simply isn't true. You're in my prayers. You really are.